I'm just going to grab some data here, age 15 plus, employment rate. So I'm going to come over here, and let's say they didn't have the link for downloading the data, and only a link to view it. So here's the data. So how would I get this data into Excel? Well, the real basic way to do that is just to highlight all the data. So I just left clicked and I'm dragging over all of the data. And once the data is highlighted, I'm going to press Control C on my keyboard to copy it. Then I'm going to go into Excel. I'm going to launch a new spreadsheet by clicking this little plus sign right there. And I got a new sheet in my workbook. And then I could come up here to paste. And if I just choose paste, it's going to paste it in as HTML. And watch what happens, just so you can see what happens when that goes. So I got some of that HTML formatting. I got the yellow. I got this over here. And being able to paste in as HTML is a useful technique, which we'll use sometimes. But if I didn't want that HTML formatting, I just created a new sheet. I'm going to go to Paste, Paste Special, and I kind of will work my way through these three options to see if I can get the data to come in well. So I'm going to paste that as text. And right there, the data came in just fine. So no problem. I got all that unemployment data. Now I just need to sort of clean it up so that I could get it to look like that. How would I go about doing that? Well, I could go through and manually delete each row like this, right? Or, as we'll see in macros, I could create a macro to just sort of repeat that task and delete each row for me. So if you want to see how to do that, watch the macro video. Or I could also come up here and I could just maybe select all of this and I could sort it by, let's say, the first column there. So I go to data and choose sort, and there it's sorted, and it's sorted out all of the rows with empty records and put them kind of at the bottom where it doesn't matter. And I got all this up here. So the next thing I do is just filter that, put in some percentage signs, expand the columns, things like that. What if I wanted to grab this MLB data, Major League Baseball? And let's actually say instead of looking at this in Google Chrome, I was looking at it in Internet Explorer. So I'm going to come over to Internet Explorer. And one of the things about grabbing data off the web is that it can make a difference what web browser you're looking at the data in. So let me illustrate that. Let's see how it comes in off of Internet Explorer. So I'm going to highlight all that, Control C, go back to Excel, and I'm going to create a new spreadsheet. So just click right there. Now I've got a new worksheet right there. I'm going to go to Home, and I'm going to go to Paste, and I'm going to go to Paste Special, and I'm going to paste that as text. And wow, that doesn't look very good. Look, all my data is right here, and it's all in the very first column. So for me to get that data to sort of come out into individual columns could be a little bit difficult. Let me try another worksheet. I created a new worksheet, Paste, Paste Special again. Let me see if it makes a difference if I use Unicode text. And it doesn't make a difference to use Unicode text. Well, one other technique I might try is to launch Notepad down here. And when I launch Notepad and then paste it into Notepad, well, it looks like that when it comes into Notepad, which is, again, looking fairly much like it came into Excel. So I don't know if that's going to help me much. Of course, I could work with this and see if I might be able to get that in. One technique to do that is to just, let me make sure I get all this stuff up above deleted. Select it all from there, and then see if I bring it back over to Excel, create a new worksheet, and then paste back into Excel. I'll just paste normal. There we go. So that didn't really do anything for me. It just sort of came in that way once more. Well, let me save this notepad, and this is really kind of the way that you work with bringing data into Excel. So you keep trying these different methods and you see which method works best, because occasionally you'll find, this is the right one for this situation. And so it's just a process of trial and error till you get the data that you want to come in. So I'm going to save this notepad. I'm going to save it as MLB Stats 2 and save that. And now in Excel, I could come up here to File and choose Open, and then go to my computer where I saved that. And I can look for that, but I don't see that file in here. It should be right about here. It should be an M. And that's because right now I'm only looking at Excel files. So if I choose All Files and come down there and look at the M's area, there we go, MLB Stats 2, choose Open. And now it asks me, hey, do you want to import this? And I do. And how is the data separated? Well, it's separated by spaces. So if I choose space, it's now sort of spaced all that out nicely, and I can choose finish. And there it brought in that data, and all I'd have to do is add in my header rows. So that method actually turned out to work pretty well for us. I'm just going to close this worksheet because I brought it into a new workbook. Well, that was trying to bring in the data off of Internet Explorer. And we could also try bringing it in off of Internet Explorer by just, creating a new worksheet and choose paste special HTML. There we go. And when I paste into HTML, that actually comes in nicer off of Internet Explorer. And then I can select all this again, since it has this web highlighting, the hyperlinks and everything right there. It's got the HTML highlighting. I can select all that again, Control C, create a new worksheet, and then come up here and paste once more and paste as values. And then that time it's just here as text. So what we're really seeing is that there's a series of methods that we could try until we get the data to come in the way we want it to come in. We tried pasting as text, we tried pasting as Unicode text, we tried pasting as HTML. If it pasted in well as HTML, then we could recopy that worksheet and then paste it again as values. We tried pasting into Notepad and copying out of Notepad to see if that brought it in differently, and sometimes that does work well. And then we saw saving in Notepad and then importing that data from Notepad, which was like, opening the file where we went to File, Open, and we opened that Notepad file, and then we used the import. And that import thing really brought it in pretty well. So, these are some of the different methods we use to, experiment and see how do we get that data to come into Excel. And then, of course, there's always this one, which is to try various browsers to copy the data. So, that was Internet Explorer if I was bringing in this MLB data off of Internet Explorer, because all browsers display data slightly differently. So now let me see what happens when I bring in this data off of Google Chrome. So here's the same data, but in Google Chrome. And when I highlight this data in Google Chrome, select it all. So you want to be careful what you select. I don't want to grab all this stuff up here. And now when I press Control C on my keyboard, I go to Excel. And I'm going to create a new worksheet. And now I'm going to choose paste special as text, and let's just try different methods. And the first one from Google Chrome really brings in the MLB data well. So you can see here that, trying various browsers to copy data into Excel is a really useful tool to see, which one is able to bring in the data better. But again, it's just this trial and error process until you get the data in the way you want. I've also even found that sometimes if the data is not coming in well and I try all these, I've had data come in differently from the same web page using the same methods just by restarting my computer. So before it's coming in one way, I restart my computer, the second time it comes in perfectly. So it's kind of an odd thing, and it's a little bit of a voodoo black box. Not quite sure why it works the way it works sometimes, but you just do that trial and error thing until you get it in the way you want. All right, so that's bringing in the MLB data. And then one cool thing that you can do with that is once I have the MLB data into my worksheet, let's say instead of having